Vito Lasprugato, 43 years old. I live in Marlton, New Jersey. I've been a fitness and wellness coach for about 20 years now, and originally went to Boston University and originally for nutritional sciences, but through there I learned a lot about fitness, being a fitness professional, various forms of body movements and sciences relating to it, exercise philosophy. And growing up, I always played sports, so I was always very active. I didn't think I was going to be taking that route professionally or in a career direction. And then something just very resonated when I was in Boston, and I was able to get employed and achieve a management job for body design, personal training, and then Bally's Total Fitness up in Boston. And then from there, I think, my passion grew, I think, more as an entrepreneur and learning the many aspects of physical movement itself and being able to teach and pass it down to other fitness coaches. And I think through that inquisitive nature that I think I was embarking upon at that time, that's where I realized I think I was going to do this, for the rest of my life. I loved seeing the change that was happening, not only with myself and how it was bettering my well-being and how physical fitness was improving across the board, but also how it was facilitating change and changing people's lifestyles as well. So that was very gratifying. And then for the past 15 years, passionately just diving into every type of form of exercise science and movement arts. So my certifications are across the board in fitness coaching, exercise science, and then in the movement arts, Tai Chi, parkour, and animal flow based movement. So I've always gravitated towards taking an eclectic approach and dynamic approach to challenging the body and also the mind body when it comes to the body, because there are benefits and science and studies showing when we can challenge our mind when it comes to physical movement, we can get overall better fitness results as well, whether we're trying to get stronger, trying to build lean muscle mass, trying to reduce weight, trying to just improve our daily living, our mobility, our joint mobility, stability, balance. So I was very, very fascinated by the different disciplines, that were out there and the different sciences. And that led me to, having my own independent, practice and helping others in those forms. More variety, the better.
Yeah.
I think no matter what your goals are, we are still seeing, much of even just historically with the science of exercise science and movement science, but even more now than ever with studies that no matter what your goal is, whether to be a bodybuilder, whether to be a movement specialist and just be able to move really well or fix maybe some back issues, some hip issues, some knee issues, that various forms of training is going to be more beneficial for you. So whether that be weight training, whether it be calisthenics, whether that be Tai Chi, usually the combination of all those disciplines and movements are going to add up to more efficient results. So my philosophy is, well, one, make sure that you have, the support, professional support that can provide you with that, and or seek out different professionals in those fields. I mean, when it comes to nutrition, if someone is, looking to, whether it be lean out, maybe lose weight, or maybe longevity purposes, health span purposes, the studies I am aware of seem to be fairly conclusive with, a Mediterranean type approach. But I think everyone needs to be met, where they're at in their current state of health, age, and so forth. And I think that's where potential elimination protocols come into play, or seeking the specialist that can, provide, those tools, the sciences, and guide that person. So, nutrition, I think if you can, get a proper individualized assessment, then that's the most, I think, efficient and safe way to go. Because I've seen, in just what I do and just fitness and wellness coaching, various individuals who benefit from one form of dietary approach versus, another person at a particular stage, maybe in their health. But generally speaking, if someone were to ask me, hey, any diets out there, any philosophies around nutrition, or what would be your number one nutrition tip? I say, well, try to follow a Mediterranean type approach, because, those are the studies that are fairly consistent when it comes to our health span. And then we have the Blue Zone studies in the past few years, which show, that it's primarily a Mediterranean approach with those Blue Zone cultures that predict their longevity or health span. For exercise tips, kind of repetitive what I said before, but more variety the better. If you keep just doing the same thing day after day, you're going to get some results. If you're starting something new, like anything, like walking's great. If you can get yourself to walk every day, a mile or two, and you haven't been doing that, great. That's a step forward. But after a few weeks of that, your body will reach, some type of plateau. And oftentimes what I've seen is, because that people tend to also reach a plateau in their mindset as well. They see potentially in the first few weeks they're getting more energy. Maybe they're leaning out a little bit, but then that's it. So then they get a little bit more discouraged. So variety's key, and whatever your goals are. I would say experience has a lot to do with it. There's something said for experience. I think what makes me an expert is I'm someone who's participated and practiced many forms of movement arts and exercise science. So I've seen the failures and experienced the failures and learned from them and found the solutions for them, and I've learned from other professionals, along the way. And then me, obviously going through some courses to also have the, understanding and the knowledge behind those sciences and those movement arts also, provides me. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I would say I'm a practicing expert. I'm someone who is always trying to fine tune what I know and make it better.
Right.
And then I would also say that, if I were to use that loosely, expert is, I've been able to, at this point, cater to many types of clientele, ranging from models to, cosmetic type training, to people who are professional athletes, strength training, CrossFitters, parkour athletes. I have a gentleman, this morning I was training, who's about to do a Spartan. It's a whole different approach when it comes to both the functional fitness and the sport specificity. So, this gentleman right now, Justin, he hasn't done any type of obstacle course racing. He really wanted to get in it. He likes the idea of just kind of challenging himself, discipline-wise, and then conquering, these physical objects. He's been into just functional fitness and either lifting weights, calisthenics, just across the board, HIIT training. And he feels like he needs to kind of apply that, further. So I kind of took what he was already doing and I created a more customized program with functional fitness, always the foundation. It always has to be there. And then use some particular movement patterns in functional fitness to then cater to the sport specifics of what he's trying to accomplish as well. And I've been working with him for the past 3 months, and, he's seen, significant improvement. One example would be the skill set necessary to do what's called a wall run. And let's say it's a 10-foot wall, straight wall, and you need to be able to grab the top and get over it, right? Well, you can't just jump up 10 feet. So you have to use a foot placement, running towards the wall, foot placement on the wall, and eventually you grab the top. So that is learning the steps, the fluidity behind it, the flow, the softness of your foot on the wall, the leap itself. And with that, you can use certain functional fitness tools and exercises to kind of emulate that or accent, right? So explosive power. So we'd work explosive power with, for example, split squat jumping lunges up in the air, like weighted, split lunges, something like that. So we saw a benefit just in the matter of like 4 to 6 weeks of his height reach, with that significantly increased by combining those two philosophies, the fitness portion and then the sport portion, skill sets. And then I have a woman, recently that, she's about 58 years old, Kristen. She needs to lose about 50, 60 pounds in order to be within her, proper BMI and body fat percentage. She has some health conditions like higher blood pressure, and doctor thought if she lost weight, started exercising, it would benefit her. And she changed her nutrition, but at the same time we got her on and she had a knee problem, degeneration in her knee. So it was very difficult for her to even just walk some days. So there was a strong focus on even working with a physical therapist, which we made sure she was doing that. It only got so far, so I created some more strengthening type based exercises to support the tissue in that area, and work also stability and mobility, which is really important for joint function. And she has reduced her pain significantly. I would say by at least 50 to 60% in the matter of the past 6 weeks. So she's doing squats now. She's also lost about 35 pounds, and so she's doing great. Well, anyone who is currently not moving enough and just doesn't know what to do, how to do it, doesn't have the proper guidance, and feels the need that they need to start some type of exercise regimen. And I would always recommend people to seek professionals like I did, to learn to make it as safe as possible for injury prevention and as efficient as possible. Because there's a lot of people who are just, exercising a lot, and sometimes it's either too much, too little, or just the wrong form, the wrong technique, and they're spending this whole hour. And not that it's a waste of time, because if you get moving, get the heart rate up, get sweating a little bit, that's always a good thing. But you could be making so much more of your time to get better results quicker, faster, and more efficiently. So definitely for the beginners, if you're looking to lose weight, movement and exercise is a decent portion of that. You can't out-train a bad diet, so nutrition would come first. And I know NewU Health is at the forefront in helping, people with that as well. And then for the people, since I have, a fairly advanced experience with movement and movement professionals, if it's, some guy who's been working out for 20, 30 years, he's 60 years old, he's already super fit, I can guarantee he's probably going to learn something new from me. I can take him into, Tai Chi, for instance. These are ways to increase mobility, stability, which will automatically, when you can optimize mobility and stability, and through breathing technique with that as well, then you can get fitter. You can use and apply those tools to other types of exercises in functional fitness and get stronger, fitter, and more efficient with them. Body awareness. I think many people are out of tune with their body. I am super thankful and grateful that, I pushed myself in sports, right? You got fitness and exercise and smart fitness, right? To be healthy and fit and have good joint function. And then you have sports. Like, I love sports. I want to be able to use and apply my fitness to challenging myself, right? And with sports can come injuries. That's understandable. So I've gone through that, right? I've had back injuries, although mine was more like a construction injury relating to the back injury. And I know what it's like to have back pain, but I know what it's like to have to get in tune and try to understand the mechanics and like what's actually going on, whether that be particular muscles. The psoas muscle is guarding because it's trying to protect this. Your QL muscle is trying to do this because it's trying to strengthen the other side. And just understanding movement and how your body moves, right, is, I think, the ultimate goal for every person. Which is why movement arts have been in human history for thousands of years, whether that be a martial art form, or that be yoga, We were always meant to be in tune with our bodies, because if we're not, then we start to feel unwell. We'll have the aches and pains and so forth, right? So that, I think, is the ultimate goal, for everyone. And at the very least, to minimize it a bit, it's, my goal is to anyone who's just starting to get into it or doesn't really know about it, is to get them to understand form, technique, proper form, to be in tune. If you're doing a squat, it's not just so much about you bending down with your knees and or your hips if you got good hip hinging. It's about bracing your core. What does that mean? How to breathe, what muscles you're trying to contract, and realizing that we've lost touch with the involuntary brain muscle response. Because we don't move in the primal ways that we're supposed to, due to the type of society we are. So teaching that again, oftentimes I'm teaching someone to teach their body to connect their brain to their muscles, so that when you're doing an exercise, eventually those turn on by themselves. Because we see that often. For example, going back to the squat is, it's not a knee motion first, it's a hip hinge first. So a lot of people I assess in the functional movement screening, they are bending with their knees first, then their hips. And the other thing I see is, because if they are bending with their hips and pushing their tailbone back, then they're losing their core. So the core's got to be engaged. And then they're also should be sitting on the heels, and their glutes should be engaged. So it's glutes, heels. Glutes are there to protect the lower back. That's where you're also going to get power. And then the core is meant to protect the lower back and also drive power coming up as well. Fully support. That's a good question. Fully support trends. I wouldn't say there's a trend that I fully support.
Okay.
I think any trend that can capture an audience where someone has not been successful with improving their wellness and they find a connection to that, I think that's a step forward. But me fully supporting anything would be to be open-minded to a variety of sciences and what may benefit one person versus another. I think keto is definitely overrated. And, we're starting to see that more and more. I mean, like hardcore keto, I've had a lot of people come to me and they've strict keto for 2 years, and they've, they at first they feel great, then it's probably because they're reducing insulin resistance, probably had higher glucose levels, they're feeling better, they probably lost weight. But then they start to have like headaches and, other types of fatigue issues or lack of sleep, or adrenaline's running too high, or maybe, anxiety's going up, stress is going up. Those seem to be pretty kind of relevant across the board. And then, I don't know, in my opinion, it's, keto dieters are avoiding potentially a lot of beneficial nutrients for the body that I'm aware of, which would be things like phytonutrients, and so forth. The carnivore diets also seems pretty, in my opinion, could be pretty dangerous. But I've also seen people benefit from going strict carnivore because they have some type of autoimmune disease, and they aren't getting far with results, and being on it maybe a period of time has been beneficial to them. NewU Health, I think, is doing something tremendous, which is bringing a variety of services and therapies and sciences in a well-rounded, comprehensive way to make sure that that people are going to get successful wellness results. We have the mindfulness therapy. There is the fitness coaching. There is the nutrition portion, and those are some of the building blocks. And then, well, they're the main building blocks for success and having that support. So it all starts in the mindset. If someone is coming to look online for a better way to better their wellness, they've taken that first step with their mind. And then there's usually, in my opinion, I've seen just stages of that, of people applying, change, which is usually the most difficult thing for people. And NewU Health has it covered across the board. We have one of the, I think he's a great mental health integrative, mental health therapist, using techniques and tools to help people organize, their mindset. And then there's the nutrition portion, using the elimination protocol and the Mito food plan. These are very, these are quality, sciences, nutritional sciences. And then me obviously supplying the individualized approach. And that's what I think is also, key, that we are creating through NewU Health a kind of generalized education, because education is key. If someone's trying to change themselves, their body, their minds, their health, the educational portion is key. Where I've seen people fail is you go to a gym and you just got someone there just kind of telling you what to do. There's no education. And that's why 80% of those of people who start a gym membership, in the middle of the year, tend to fall out. So it's 80% is pretty high. And there's just not enough of that guidance, that support system, and more so the education. So I think NewU, Health has it all pretty much covered. I would say to any individual who's looking to change their life, their lifestyle, their wellness, they want to feel better, they want to move better, they want to look better. Every human does, right? That, invest in your wellness, invest in your wellness with those who have the experience. And us at obviously NewU Health, we have that experience. We have extensive experience. And just commit yourself and listen to your coaches and apply, what your coaches are providing you. And there is this hurdle, that once you get over this hurdle of change, and it's usually within the first few weeks only, that's the hardest part. If you can commit yourself for those first few weeks, after that, your body starts changing and you become addicted to how you're feeling. And once that happens, usually you're set free, you're on board, you're creating new habits at that point, and you're only setting yourself up for success.